very successful, thankfully. And then we ran a different type of model. We had teams within the brokerage, which we helped us to grow and cultivate. And in helping those agents grow and cultivate their teams, we help them with scaling their business as well. When we look at today's environment, we realize that the Timridge versus the brokerage, right? The Timridge model is a lot more profitable because the scale is different. When you own a brokerage and you're scaling with people, that's what you're scaling with. It compresses your margins. But when you have a team or an organization or a network, you're scaling on the GCI, and so your margins are a lot wider. And that's really one of the reasons why we did that. When we assessed the next pivot for our brokerage, we realized that it was better looking at the bottom line with those 35 agents. We didn't really lose much on our margins, and we realized we could be a lot more nimble. So.
Love it. Perfect. Don, next. I don't think you run the team, right? Don.
Okay. I was hired at the adult daycare. Just the way it was. I'm an REO agent, so back in 2010, Bank of America told me a ton of listings. They were there to get low-hanging fruit, but you'll snip talent. And the biggest thing is I started looking for talent and not bodies. That's the biggest thing. And I do more with 5 than I did with 15.
Wade, you said you run a team of 12, smaller team?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's talk about, and I do want to come back to your REO question, but I want to talk about how you have scaled that team and what you've been looking for as you've added to your team.
Yeah, we've had, so the 12 currently has just went up from 7 or 8. We've fluctuated over the years. Every year, at the end of the year, at least the last 4 years, we've talked about scaling down and doing more of a small but mighty team. We haven't got there because people continually want to be a part of our team in one way or another because of our culture or what we're known for in the market. So that's how we kind of scaled up to get more people. I forget where I was going with the answer.
So you're just building up to the team. You haven't gotten to the point where you're like, hey, I need to slim down or something like that. You're still adding to the team.
As of right now, we are, yes. But we go back and forth on it. We need to sit down and run some numbers and see if we can keep a smaller number of agents and still do good enough production.
Okay, perfect. I want to pivot to your question, Cam, but I don't want to leave you out of this, and I'll go back to Ari. Starting out your business, what are some things that we talked about pivoting, we talked about pivoting on a team. As an individual agent, when you start building your team or building your business, name something you started doing and you figured out for you, this doesn't work for me, and how did you transition from that into how you're running your business right now?
Okay, that's a good question. I'll just talk about how I started off my business and how that kind of transitioned over the years. So when I became a real estate agent, the reason I became an agent was because he was an agent. I was like, all right, let's just build a family business and do this together. But I didn't have a database. So I just started from the very basics, and I really sat in my office, in a small little office, and cold called for 3 hours. I did the 9 to 11 lead gen, 11 to noon follow-up, went to lunch, and then, did all of my showings in the afternoon, and I really stuck to that schedule for many, many years. And the reason I did that was because, number one, I was too afraid to ask my sphere for business at that time, and also I just felt like I didn't have a track record of success. So I felt like, how can I go to my friends and family and ask them for business? I was in my head. And when I don't have a track record to show them. But what ended up happening is all of those strangers that hired me, I posted all of that success on social media consistently, and I told the story of all of those clients, not my story that I closed a deal today. It was more their story, and then naturally, my sphere started reaching out to me. Oh, and in their eyes, oh, well, she's helping all of these other people, and she can probably help us too. And so now the majority of my business, and we track all of our numbers, so about 92-95% of our business is referrals, past clients, and then mostly from social media. So that's kind of how my business has transitioned. Now that I hard to stick to that schedule of, you know, cold calling and things like that. And I'm blessed enough to have enough business where people do reach out to me, and I don't necessarily have to grind like I did when I first started.
It's perfect. Now remind me, how many years?
2012.
2012. Okay, great, awesome. I want to kick over to you, Ari, because you're the baby realtor here. When you're talking about 20 years, 19 years. So how did you do what you've done in your business in just 2 years?
Yeah, so I think what worked for me was just being who I am, just showing up authentically, using the spaces that I had, like social media, Facebook, Instagram, letting people know that I'm an agent. Before I became an agent, my husband and I owned a t-shirt brand. Somebody said something about making t-shirts earlier. I was like, shade. But that's what we did before, and people knew us because of that. Like, you know, we had a successful brand, we built, you know, a business where we were known everywhere, right? So I had to come out and say, this is what I'm doing now. I'm no longer doing that. And I felt like I had to say it a lot. So I posted on social media all day, every day. It seemed like I started sharing my clients' stories. And what I was trying to do was just build trust in a new thing. So that's how I just, you know, came out and said, this is what I'm doing. And slowly people stopped asking me about t-shirts, which was my goal. And they, you know, we switched over to the real estate business.
Awesome, awesome stuff.
And I think, you know, for a lot of people, the biggest takeaway, we talk about being new, even if you're not new, is understanding sharing those client wins. Like, what did you do? People, that's how you're building trust, right? There was a gentleman that we had with us, and in his first year, he did outstanding with us, but he was sharing the journey that a lot of people go through. And when you're looking at, like, why aren't people watching social media?
Yeah.
It's entertainment, right? I think nowadays most people watch their cell phone more than what they're watching the television. So when you're putting out that content and saying, yeah, I don't sell t-shirts anymore, it's not I just do real estate, I do real estate. She hit the nail on the head, why she's successful within 2 years. I'm sharing the journey of what I'm actually doing with people, right? Whether that's, hey, we're talking about staging, or we're talking about, you know, a buyer presentation. I think that's a great takeaway. One thing that I wanted to circle back on, because I know on the team aspect it didn't apply, but I just want you to answer quickly for me. Did you start a team to make more money, or did you do it because you're passionate about helping people?
You know, we started a team out of necessity. Well, let me go back off a little bit on context. We originally were a small team.
Yes.
Before we decided to go into the brokerage side of the world, and the idea was to scale and create systems and maybe one day build an enterprise business.
Yes.
That was the initial thought, which we did, I think. And obviously with the way things are with real estate today, you have to pivot with the times. So for us, our original goal was, hey, we're really good at this.
Yeah.
And we have clients that we can trace back to the 20 years that we've been doing this. And still today, we've sold them their first $35,000 condo, and today opening up their third or fourth business where it's a huge commercial deal and it's millions of dollars. So we stay consistent, and that is the biggest thing in this business. You could suck in this business, but as long as you are consistent, you will still make money.
100%.
The key is just to show up, right?
And maybe my question was off target, because what I've learned recently, and the reason that I asked this, I always assumed that starting a team was to make more money. And what I realized is that isn't the case. So I'll skip all you guys from answering the question, so you can get those, right? You did a great job pivoting to answer it, by the way. But the reality is like, to be good at anything, whether it's mortgage, whether it's real estate, you have to actually care. And when you become good at something, the way to be able to show that you care is helping others do what you've mastered, right? Like helping a new agent on something to where even becoming small and mighty, you're finding the people that want to actually do the work. But you're sharing the tools in which you didn't learn in the 40 hours of education to get a real estate license, right? It's the same for, I'll say, Major or any of our LOs that are in the room today. 20 hours of education gives you the ticket, right? From there, you're getting the education with every client you serve, and part of that next level of service is running a team to help share that. So I'm off the team deal now. Okay.
All right, great. I want to go back and you guys all answer this question, because you guys are all in different phases of life and different phases of your business. Cam, you brought up, the fact that you're a mother now and you're balancing business with motherhood and everything. I want to start with you on this, Ari. How do you balance your daily life or family life with your business? And if you were to give yourself a grade for how you're doing.
Okay, how do I balance? I would say I don't. I mean, at year 2, I'm just, so I give myself an F.
That's good. I'm okay with that.
I don't. I'm just at year 2. I was just talking to somebody about this earlier. Just getting to a place where I feel like I'm not just running. You know, I came into the business working immediately, right? So I didn't really have systems in place. So now I'm getting to a place where I'm like, okay, take a step back. Let me build my system. Like, how do people get access to me, and what does that process look like? Because I served so many people in my first year, and honestly, I'm having to go back now and say, did I nurture them properly? Because those should be the folks that come along with me, you know, for 25 years, but because I was so new, so green, like so excited, you know, to close deals, I'm having to go back. So I don't have the balance now, but I do have the aha moment now that I have to create that, because I believe this business will literally run you ragged if you don't create some balance. So the biggest thing I'm doing now is like working on my intake process. How do you talk? How do you get to me? And what does it look like? You know, what is that journey like? So F, but I'll be an A by the time I come back next year, maybe.
Absolutely. I'm next going to go to Don with that question. You know, because we didn't hear much about the background or family life, or if you have a family, can you cover that really quickly and you know how that's going?
4 kids, 6 grandbabies, all on real estate. You know,
Okay.
and wasn't pleasant, wasn't poetic, but when you don't have any other option, you just move forward, and that's the learning process. You asked, why I start a team? Yeah, it was to make money, but that doesn't last. You got to build a team, and you come from the heart, and that's the difference.
Yeah, awesome. So let's talk about balance as far as the family and everything. How do you build your business and balance everything? How do you do that today with your team and supporting them as well as building your business? Yeah.
Leverage, and AI. I'm telling you, right? That's bringing leverage to the 10th power. Systems and leverage. That's it. I mean, you don't have to work 15, 18 hours a day. Let the systems work for you. I create my own schedule. Whatever on my calendar is what I personally put on there and what I want to put on there.
Excellent. All right, so the weights, either one of you can take this question.
Okay, I don't think that there isn't any such thing as work-life balance. There has been times where I've taken my kids to work with me, that I've taken them to showings with me, but that's not really ideal. So it's really important to put those systems in place in the very beginning. And maybe reach out to someone that is producing at a high level or has a really good system. So that way you can kind of take things from them and implement that into your own business so that you're not working all of the time. And one thing I do want to say is don't let anything crazy happen before you finally decide to put those systems in place where you give your time to both, where you're like forced to choose one or the other. A couple of years ago, our son was in the ICU and we did not know what was going to happen. And before that, I was just going. And that situation just forced me to kind of take a step back and not work and focus on my clients. But thankfully I had a team, I had an EA, an executive assistant, I had a transaction coordinator. All of those people were put into place. So when unfortunately that situation happened, I was just able to take a step back. Both of us were able to take a step back and just focus on our family. So I'm very grateful for that we have done that. And also, I think as real estate agents, it's really important to have passive income. I think that relying on commission income all of the time, it can be really risky. And that's why, when you're going on listing appointments, see if, that home is something that you can purchase as an investor. Have that conversation with the sellers. Sometimes not all homes are meant to be put on the MLS. And so, create passive income, use your earned income to make passive income, so that way you're not having to work 24/7, not having to answer text messages at 11 o'clock at night. And sometimes if a client doesn't serve you and who you are, you can say, we're just not a good fit for each other. And you don't always have to feel like you have to help every single person that you talk to.
Oh, you can tell that you're Molly's, you work with Molly, because that's how she is too. Create passive income, look at opportunity. One of the things that I think for all of us being in, we're very obviously cyclical fields to where we have a baseline of 0, which is what you can possibly make, but there's no limit, okay? At what point in your career was there either an activity or something that you did that really changed the trajectory for you to where, this is something that not only I'm good at, but I found a niche, whether it's a marketing idea, if it was social media, great, but typically give you a little more meat on the bone other than social media, like the specifics of what did you do that not only differentiated you, but helped you take it to the next level in your own business?
So for me, and I'll just go back to when I started in this business, there was no social media.
Yes, that's true.
As a matter of fact, when I started building my social presence, it was because we needed to build our brokerage. So if you look at my Instagram, and I have a lot of followers, it was because I was attracting agents, not attracting clients, because I already built a base. And I was still doing a really, really good working part-time as a real estate agent, as a broker, but I never promoted that business because my brand at that point was brokerage. But starting out, there was no social media, right? It was good old-fashioned, getting on the phone, knocking on doors. I would drive from Sugarland to Conroe and knock on doors, knock on builder doors. I would drop off packages. But the biggest thing once I realized, because here's the thing, you will fail in this business once or twice, so you have to give yourself grace. And you can't say because I failed, I'm gonna run off and do something else. Every time you hit that reset button, you're hitting a reset on your dreams, and you don't wanna do that. And that's what happened, and it's happened to me more than once. So in thinking about how to really bounce back from this, I decided that I wasn't gonna fail again. So going back to what you said earlier, what are those things that made me successful the first time? How did I go from making $350,000 a year to $35,000 a year? What happened in between? Because that's what happened. And so I started going back to my base, past clients, friends, hairdressers, anyone that I had a conversation with that knew me. I started with that number. I knew that if I could have 200 people in my database, I would at least make $100,000. And if I had 500 people in my database, based on me proactively following up with them and doing those activities, I could make $250,000. That was my formula. And so from there, my one goal was to get to 500 people, and then from there, build from there. So today, I don't have to do the grind. I don't have to work 10 hours, 50 hours a week or 60 hours a week. And then building passive income as we went along. Thankfully, I'm married to my best friend and my partner. I'm a partner with my best friend and my husband. So we do this together. We've been doing this together since the beginning. So a property management company, get into commercial, invest in properties, invest in yourself. If there's an opportunity to buy into a company, painting, HVAC, whatever it is, take 5, 10, 1% of something, because that's what's going to build your income, build your base, and build your legacy.
Love it. Pay yourself is what you're saying, right? That was one of the first lessons I learned from a 5-star general that I knew that was my friend's father. And he said, "What are you paying yourself?" And I was young at the time, 20 years old. And he broke it down. It was like, paying yourself, like money you're not spending, you're putting it into investment. So one of the great takeaways on there, if you guys heard, like just the basic game plan of if I have 200 contacts, it's not just sitting in your phone. I would probably say the average of the people in this world have 3,000 contacts in their phone. It's a contact sport, okay? Just having them in your phone isn't gonna make you money. When she talks about getting up to 500 contacts, that means she's actively reaching out. I'm calling them and creating that relationship. This is a relationship sport, right? This isn't a CRM that could replace it. You couldn't do anything else other than you probably knew their kids' names if they had them, their dreams, their goals, getting into the weeds with your borrowers. Thank you for that. All right, I'll let you go next on this one.
Okay, I think for me, last year, when I was hearing stories about agents who maybe didn't sell a lot or were, having some difficulty, and I closed 38 deals, and I'm like, if I can do that with no systems, God, what can I do if I really build the business that I'm now just trying to build? So that, to me, was an aha moment, and it really forced me to be okay with pausing on the grind a little bit so that I could really build something like sustainable. And I'm also, like, another thing I had, my daughter is graduating from college in May, and she wants to be an attorney. But she's gonna get a real estate license in Virginia. So I think me having that aha moment made me want to share it, with my closest family, just because of the opportunities that are here. Like, you said it was limitless. It really is, and I feel that. It makes me excited to keep going, but also to really build like a sustainable business. So that's what it was for me. The numbers that made me go, okay, this is a real thing.
You know how rare you are, right? 38 transactions your first year. That just comes down to your hustle and the ability to do it. Give a round of applause.
So I'll share. So one thing that has changed our business significantly, we was at a figures brokerage where it was a 33 touch, right? And so that's where you do client appreciation events throughout the year. You send out mailers, you call them, check on them throughout the year. And we have done that successfully since maybe 2016, so almost 10 years now. We rent out movie theaters, water parks, pie giveaway every year. We've added picture with Santa. Around any holiday that we can, we do something or send something out. St. Patrick's Day, we send out a scratcher, to tell them they get lucky or we're lucky to have them, whatever the tagline is. But client appreciation events has really helped us a lot. And I think the reason why it has helped us a lot is because most agents, like you in your first year, you're just hustling so much, you don't even have time to love back on those clients and reach back out to them and touch them and things like that. And with us, we made those events an experience, right? We took pictures, we put it on social media, they put it on their social medias, so people in the city can see what we were doing, what our team was doing, and people get FOMO. And so we've been successful, I would say, because of that, because of client appreciation events and the amount of touches every year.
I think that's great, and I think where a lot of people, I don't want to say fail, because even if you're doing, I'm going to use you, Laurie, for an example, doing 38 transactions a year, you're doing good, right? You're the top 0.1% probably agents, because 95% don't even close a bank deal either, right? So you're doing great. However, the difference level to be able to be successful is planning that time for growth, right? When we're talking about events, like even spending your time to come out here with us, right? This is taking time out of what you're doing. However, when you talk about the community events, even if you don't need it, you gotta do it anyways, because that's how you hit that next level of growth, right? I know from Major on his perspective, he does some events with real producers or different things that are, do I need to do these? This is where you will always be busy, right? In your business, and you are busy because you can just be waiting and answering emails. There's a difference between busy and growing, right? And this is where a lot of people miss this part of it up, to where when you're looking, and you mentioned quarterly events, we're doing this to be a part of our community. We know it works. The problem is where most people fail, the execution piece of it. So, kudos to you guys for not only doing it, making it a part of your business, it is a game changer. Got one quick question on that, because we only have about 6 minutes before I start getting the eye from somebody, okay? What's been the best event? Which one has not only been the best for the community where you're at, but has gotten the best, call it ROI or involvement? What's the one that you guys would say is your key event?
I think that our key event is the pie event. So we give out a free pie, apple or pumpkin, but then we allow them to have wine and, a charcuterie board for them in our office. But one thing we do want to point out is that, or note, is that the event is not where, the event is not, okay, it's just a reason to talk to the clients. So you do have to call the clients a couple, send the invite out, then call your entire database. And I'm not joking, but you do have to call them and say, hey, did you receive the invite? Can you make it? And when we do that, you'd be surprised how many times a client has said, hey, actually, you know what, it's good thing that you called, because my coworker, they're looking to buy a home, or my grandma needs to sell her home. That has happened so many times. So the event is not the main thing. It's the actual calling them before the event that is the important piece to all of that.
Having a reason to call.
Love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say this for my team, right? We are not an events company,
That's true.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I love y'all here for an event. We are a sales company, right? So when you understand that we're doing events, that's the purpose, to give you an environment to generate connections, relationships. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
All right.
So, you got 4 minutes. All right, so.
We're gonna go a little over.
Okay, good. So I want to go back to when you talk about doing events, because everybody has this question about, hey, how is that done? Do you have a certain formula for your personal income that you think about putting back into your business or setting aside for growth events or something like that? Is that a formula or calculation? Or how do you make that decision of how much you invest? How much do you eat and how much do you plan for later on?
Trying to think of some specific numbers here.
Doesn't have to be, is there a psychology?
Yeah,
Yeah, what we try to do. Yeah, what we try to do is we always try to get our events sponsored or co-sponsored by our different vendors, right? The home inspector, the lenders, if they can do that, title company, if they can do that, home warranty company, if they can do that, or however they can, right? If they can't give us a financial or a check or something like that, then we ask for either water or pay for, the food or something like that. I said something like that. But you get what I'm saying.
Run partnerships with.
Run partnerships, yeah. And that's our marketing spend for the year, because she said low 90% of our clients come from repeat or referral business. And so that's our marketing spend usually for the year. Now we do some other things as well, because we're agents that don't have a database yet. So we do pay for some leads now, but for the most part, for a good 7 years, our marketing for the year would be those 4 major events and then all the smaller events between.
Okay. Don, is there a certain percentage, or you're on a team, so is there a recommendation that you give your agents?
I'll be honest with you, I'm not really good on details, to be honest with you, but I do competition barbecue, so my events are smoked brisket, ribs, sausage, whatever else. What's the barometer? If it's over 250, you get brisket. If it's under 250, you get sausage. I raised a little steer 2 years ago, and I gave out steaks with Don Giroux on them, Krymack, on every closing. And I would call somebody and all my agents, you want to add to your database? Use this. Call your people, tell them name, number, and email address, add to your database.
That's awesome. That is phenomenal.
Nice. So I haven't had an event yet. That's on my to-do list. But what I do try to do is create an experience or event for my closing days. So I roll out the red carpet. We make a huge deal out of it. So far it's my only event, and people love it. They feel super special. We do the toes. Sometimes I have the videographer with the drone. It's kind of extra, but it makes people feel good until I can get some real events, on the calendar.
So we love events. I like to throw the party. So we have our quarterly events we call them our VIPs. We don't necessarily, because we spend a lot of money on it, we don't invite everyone. We invite anyone that sends us a referral that year, and we invite the current clients that year. This is why we do that. The ones that come in that have sent us a referral, people ask how are you a VIP, so we create that promo. And so we get referrals. So that's one thing that we do with our events, but they're fun and they're expensive. My husband says we spend too much money on that. in terms of what we put aside, we follow the Profit First formula. If you guys haven't gotten that book yet, please get that book. It's a great book. From the top, every dollar we spend, there's a certain percentage that's allocated to marketing, obviously for taxes. We take our money, we take our payment off the top because we worked hard for it. But there is a certain amount for every dollar. So if it's $1, take 30 cents out of it, and that's what we spend, that's what we use and allocate towards the business. Because we're always thinking about scaling up. And you have to have, as we said, have the time to think about growth. You also have to have the capital to invest in that growth as well. And so, but we don't live on anything that we make.
Like it. All right, we got time for one last question. So we're gonna try to do it as quick as we can. But typically when I ask somebody to present, a lot of times I'll ask, hey, what are we presenting on? There's a message or something that I think that most of you will have that you wanna share. If there is one tip, one trick, something that we can do to really help. I think, all of us, the best part about winners is competition happens at the bottom, collaboration happens at the top. And we have a lot of winners here, including you guys today. What's the one piece of advice you have for the agents? Tip, trick, something that they can do that they should take back and implement immediately?
As you invest in yourself in the business, invest in systems, invest in tools. One CRM, even if it's the simplest thing you do, if the simplest thing you do is just to add your contacts and call 5 of them a day, you will make 100 contacts in a month. It is literally the simplest thing you can do in your business. But I'll also give you one tip. We talked about grading earlier. I can't grade my entire career because I have no idea what that grade will be. But I've turned it into daily grades. If my days get so busy and I can't do anything else, the very first thing, the only thing I can do is pick up the phone and call the first five people that come to my head. And I call them and I just check in. But at the end of every day, I have to ask myself, did I pass or fail today? And for me, the minimum thing I can do during that day to give myself a passing grade is make contact. So if I always continue to give myself a fail, it means at some point I'm gonna have a failing business and a failing life. So if you just take one tip today, ask yourself every day, at the end of every day, did I pass or did I fail in my business today? You alone will know the answer to that question, and it's going to determine the rest of your business and your life.
Damn. The mic drop.
You still can go next. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. For me, I would often remind myself that success and money love speed. So get out of my head, stop overthinking things. Nothing has to be perfect. I had a coach once that said, you can never perfect a play you never ran. So just do it. Just show up for your audience, whether it's social media, email, events, whatever. Show up because it matters. And the more you do things, the better you get. It does not have to be perfect the first time or even the second or third. So success and money love speed.
Love it. And you know what? If Matt Ishmael was here, he might offer her a job. Because then you guys know he's going to tell you, I do not let perfect get in the way of good. Right? He will release things all the time to where you're hitting the nail on the head, and it comes down to execution. Don't be afraid to execute. You might not be the best social media person on TikTok, right? I'm not dancing like some of the kids were then, but guess what? Somebody's going to relate to me, right? Don't let perfect get in the way of good. Absolutely love it. Don?
For me, I'm probably figured out already, I'm not your average agent, but leverage is so important, and AI is it's here, it's not going away. You've heard a lot about it tonight. I recommend 10 times what you heard, go down 10 layers deep on that, because it's not going away, and there's going to be people getting ahead of you if you don't get into the AI. And it's not just about MLS, it is about systems, even personal, things, your daily schedule. I work out my calendar on the way to work through Bluetooth on my truck. It just sounds like I do role play, script, the whole 9 yards. So for me, I'm not, if I try to show up with these people on the stage, I would get shut up every time. I'm not that fancy, so I hire people that make me look a lot better than I deserve.
Live by your calendar. As he said, as she kind of touched on earlier, live by your calendar. We have 3 kids, showings, listing appointments, all this stuff. And so we live by our calendar. So we know where we're always at, and we know what to do at any given hour of the day. So that's definitely one thing. The last thing is, pay to get into an area where your clients are. What I mean by that is, several years ago, we paid $250 for a seat at a community hospital event, and we did that strategically so that way we can get around those individuals that was also paying $250 per plate at that event. And since then, we've made friends with a lot of those people, got a lot of business from those people. She's now the president of the philanthropy of that hospital, the philanthropy group of that hospital. And so, yeah, so paying to go into those rooms and those areas where higher net worth individuals are has been very helpful for us.
That's good.
I would say not being afraid to evolve. I know when I got my license, social media was not a big thing, but now it is. And most of our clients, I'm pretty sure they send you a home with those listing tour homes, and they're like, can we go see this home? And you have no idea what the address is or anything like that. And it's another agent's video. So I think it's very important to post on social. I was just telling someone in our group session that Darren and I have our entire month's social content scheduled. We record with our videographer for 4 or 5 hours on one day out of the month, and then basically she edits it, and then it's posted on our Instagram every single day. So we post 4 days out of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, for no reason except those are the days that we picked. So get out of your head about, oh, I don't look good, I don't like my outfit, my hair doesn't look great today. You just have to post. I mean, people are wrapping real estate stuff on Instagram. So if people are doing that and getting business, then there's no reason why we all can't get on there and just make a post a day, educate our audience, show them that you are the professional, and trusting the DMs will be popping.
Yes, let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. Appreciate it. We got Betsy coming up. We got a 5 o'clock time for the shuttle, so as much as I want to run late, Betsy's going to go over the winning strategy.